Hello and welcome to the FSA podcast. My name is Brent Kromer and I teach online health coaches how to sell at a higher rate and scale their businesses with more profit. I do it in a really weird way. It's called the sustainable growth model. I don't teach coaches how to scale to the moon and become these big multi-billionaire coaches. I don't sell you the dream. I don't sell you anything that you don't need. Okay. I teach coaches how to create a very wealthy lifestyle, buy the nice house, buy the nice car, support the family, but do it in a sustainable way. Don't go blow it on crazy jewelry and crazy cars, all to look like you have a certain lifestyle. Okay, so I teach coaches how to scale with a little bit more responsibility. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, go ahead, like, share, subscribe. It means the world to me. Send to a friend who you feel like maybe you get to the end of this video and you're like, hey, this was helpful. It might help Sally, Tom, and Sue, who are all fitness coaches or business owners as well. Go ahead, send it to them. It would mean a whole lot. Okay, guys, let's play a game. Which objection is it? That's what you should be asking yourself every time someone gives you a concern, right? Because if I tell you it's too expensive and if I tell you it's a lot of money, those can be different objections. It's too expensive can be in relation to what I thought coaching costed. Maybe it's what it costed when I was in person. Maybe it's expensive compared to what I saw online or compared to herbal shakes or compared to doing it myself. When I say it's too expensive, it's usually in comparison to something. Sometimes it's in comparison to their bank and what they can afford, but not always. And then it's too much money always. It's too much money right now. It's too much money given the circumstances. It's too much money considering what I'm actually getting as far as deliverables from you. Maybe they don't see the value in you as a coach or your credentials, or they feel like you're the best fit, or they don't feel like they get enough attention. I could go on and on and on and on. The objection that you think you get isn't necessarily the objection that they're giving. Okay, so stop, let that kind of marinate for a moment. I'm going to show you guys a board that I created where I'm going to go through how to identify what the objection actually is, because the biggest mistake that I see people make is they go into objection handling mode, handling the wrong objection. They're handling what they thought was price, but in reality it's fear. What they thought was a spouse objection when in reality is money, or they thought was money, in reality it's a think about it, right? We just don't know until we do. And a lot of people don't know how to actually figure out what the objection is. What a lot of sales trainers and business coaches will do is teach you how to overcome them, but they don't teach you how to identify which one. Well, overcoming the wrong objection, okay, still leads to a no at the end of the call if it wasn't the right objection, no matter how well you handled it. I know that's crazy to think about, right? So I want you to think about it like this, okay? I'm gonna share my screen here and boom, voila. Let's make sure that we can see. All right, so which objection is it, guys? Let's talk about it. So there's really three different categories. There are fear-based objections. There are logistical-based objections, right? So fear, pretty self-explanatory. It's out of fear. Logistical means, okay, yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. And then there's this guy over here, the magician, okay? I want to cover the magician first, okay? This is a guy who pulls a rabbit out of the hat, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. As you're going through the objections, it's always something else. And here's what I want you guys to understand, okay? This is rare. This is rare, okay? Just because you lost a sale and you couldn't overcome the objection doesn't mean they were a magician, okay? This is like the 1% of calls, the 1% of people who got on a call with no intention of buying. They literally just wanted to waste your time, or they literally just wanted someone to talk to. These are rare in nature, but they do exist, okay? So if you are scratching your head, I've reviewed calls. I'm like, all right, I think you got a dud because you did all the right things. You stress tested, you tried to identify the objection. It was just constantly something new. It happens, okay? So no matter what, they have a new objection to pull. If you follow the structure we have, you can reduce it down to a specific objection, but it doesn't, they're just not ready. They're not ready. They wasted your time, they wasted their time, and it's unfortunate. It's part of sales. Move on, okay? Once again, these are rare. I hear people say it all the time that they aren't selling because they get a lot of these clients. Do not use this as a crutch, guys. This should not be used as an excuse, okay? These are rare in nature. Okay, so here I have 95%, 95 to 99, regardless, 1 to 5% of the time, they are legitimately magicians, okay? And again, if you're getting a lot of them, like if you've had a second opinion, like if I come into your business and I'm like, holy smokes, Tom, you are getting a lot of really, really, really bad leads, it's still your fault. And I know that's not fun to hear. It's still your fault in some capacity. Something's wrong with your marketing, your messaging, your branding, your content. Something is wrong somewhere, or your ads are completely jacked up. We're doing something wrong to produce a lot of these, okay? And that's not a blame game. It's, hey, it's up to you to fix it because we're actually creating this in some capacity, okay? Let's go to fear-based objections though. So now that we got this one out of the way, this guy can't be sold, okay? Now we have 3 different categories under each. It's like an umbrella, right? We have logistical, we have fear, then we have money, think about it, spouse. Money, think about it, spouse. Well, money, think about it, spouse can be fear related or it can be logistical. So let's break it down. Fear. Well, fear of spending money is potentially a value objection. They don't feel like what you're offering is worth that amount. So if I say, hey, Tommy, it's $90,000 for 6 months to work with me as a business coach to scale your business to your first 10K. You might be like, yo, that doesn't make sense. It's 90 grand to help me get my first 10 grand. Yeah, that's a value objection. And I agree. So it could be a fear, like, no, I'm not, that's a kind of a crazy risk, right? Spend 90 grand to make 10 back. I know that's a ridiculous example, but maybe you're offering 5 grand for email check-ins and you're not a very credentialed coach. You don't have a ton of experience. You don't have a ton of case studies, testimonials, social proof. You don't have a lot of that. And you're charging what others charge who are very experienced and have mountains of case studies. Okay. So maybe in their mind, they're like, he's a newer coach. He's charging top tier. I don't know if I'm willing to pay that. Right. I'm a little nervous that I might not get the results. So that is a fear of spending the money with you. Maybe it's that they have a fear of the commitment to it. Right? Because, and again, this is still money related, right? Don't forget that this is still money. Maybe they can afford it now, but they have a fear of making the commitment to 6 or 12 months because they're going back to college. They're going through a divorce. They're going through some life altering circumstance that's causing them to wonder if they're going to be able to afford it long term as opposed to right now. That is still a fear of spending money. A fear of tapping into savings. Sometimes people have the money, they're just not willing to go pull it from a specific account. And again, it's because they are nervous about the results they're going to get. They're nervous about pulling from savings. They're nervous about taking a step in reality. Okay. So this is handled very differently than logistical money. Okay. A lot of fear objections have to be handled with identity frames and they have to be handled with perspective shifts. We have to select an identity, and then we have to shift their perspective to make different decisions, okay? Which I can get into. So fear of spending money, that is one. Now, conversely, let's talk about logistical money. I know I'm kind of skipping around here, but let's have a direct comparison. Logistical money is that they're living paycheck to paycheck, okay? Logistically, what's in their bank does not add up to what they could spend on their coaching. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're living with a friend or a family member. They're borderline homeless. They have a bad credit score. You get what I mean, right? So they have to wait for a payment. Okay, that's an objection as well. Like logistical money is they may just be waiting for a payment to clear, but they logistically don't have it right now. Or maybe understanding, that it's just like, if it's a fear money, you have to dig. You have to dig really deep as to what's causing that. What psychological component is causing them to stop making a decision out of fear around money, right? Maybe it's like a lack of a limited mindset around money. Maybe they grew up a certain way and things like that. Logistical is very logistical. Can you afford it? Can you not? Are you open to getting creative to afford it, such as borrowing money, financing it, breaking it down into payments, etc. Okay. If you have buy-in and commitment, these are relatively simple to overcome. It may just come down to a payment plan, extended payments, financing, everything I just said. Okay, so that's the difference between logistical money and fear money. Now let's talk about, hey, I just want to think this over. Like I just want to kind of sit around. Hormozy has his funny little objection. Like, it's not that we have to think about things; it's that we need more information, right? That's a decent. It's a decent frame. It's not my favorite. Okay, so this is someone who you're like, hey, this is what it looks like to work together, and like, all right, I need a few days to think this over. Okay. Where a lot of people go wrong is they go into selling mode, right? It's like, if you keep thinking about it, you're gonna talk your way out of it. If you keep thinking about it, you're gonna think of all the reasons you shouldn't do it. Like you can't go into telling mode. You have to understand what that's like. Where's the source of this coming from? Okay. So anyway, fear, think about it, is they're afraid of commitment time frame. Okay. They're afraid they will not stick with it, or that you won't hold them accountable, or that they won't get results. fear of the process. Maybe you have a specific process, like say I do, right? And maybe somebody is like, oh, sustainable growth model, that sounds cool, but I want to make a lot of money. It's like, well, look, I still help you make a lot of money. I don't help you scale until you become so big and bloated as a company that you're retaining smaller profits. That's where I have to explain this objection quite often, okay? A smaller team that is efficient, you make actually more money on the bottom line than you do making a big top line revenue with a big bloated team, shitty margins, shitty spending, a lot of expenses, and then you take home this tiny little amount. Yes, you made more to tell your friends that over here because it's an inflated revenue, but you have a big bloated team and then you only take home this, right? So you're really paying your ego, where like a smaller team with high efficiency, good pricing, and you less revenue up here, higher revenue here, maybe even higher than over here. You guys get what I mean? Okay. So I have to explain this a lot with like our sustainable growth model. You may have to explain it with your model as well. So with so many fad diets out there, people just may not trust. There's a lack of trust with so many business coaches out there feeding and selling, irresponsible programs, selling this ridiculous lifestyle or idea of a lifestyle. People are afraid of investing. It makes sense. So you have to handle it out of fear. Now, fear, think about it logistically. This is the one that doesn't exist. Okay. The only time this can exist is if they legitimately are such a cold lead. They have no information on you. They don't know you from Adam. They just came across, they haven't even seen your profile, no testimonials, no social proof. They click on an ad, or you DM them and they just decided to get on a call. That's the only way logistically, like, okay, I need to like kind of understand who you are first. Okay. Otherwise it doesn't really exist. Okay. If people say this is how I make decisions, or I have to think about it before I act, that logistically it's not a fact. Okay, like some people feel like they have to make decisions that way out of fear of making a rushed decision or a rash decision, but then you kind of have to help them understand, well, what do you identify as a rash decision, and based on that criteria, do you feel like that fits this? And if it does, then maybe it is like logistically, like you didn't nurture them enough, you didn't do your job. So if someone's like, well, I want to know who I'm buying from, I want to see testimonials, I want to talk to someone, I want to see the website. They haven't seen any of this. Like, I actually would side with them that you didn't do your job nurturing them well enough. Okay. But it is still fear-based. That's why, like, logically, it's still tapered, like dances on the side of being fear-based. Okay. So reframes, clarification, assurance. So clarification, what do you feel like you need to see to make this decision? Assurance, like how can I show you that this is going to actually work? Do you want to talk with a client? Do you want to see social proof? Do you want to do a 1 week trial? Do you want to do something like that? Worst case, like month to month, which I would almost never sell. Okay. Then we have spouse and fear. Sometimes it's logical. Sometimes it's that they use their spouse as a human shield. It's no more simple than that. Okay. Sometimes they tell you it's money. They tell you it's this. They tell you it's that. And then when they get to the end and they realize that you're overcoming all of their objections very well, they'll just be like, you know what? I just got to run it by my husband, because that's their last ditch effort. And they just want to use their husband as a shield, and then they're going to ghost you. Okay. Other times it's that they're uncertain about the program. Other times it's that they're uncertain about the price. So fear spouse can be a lot of different fears, with spouse as the scapegoat. Okay, so we have to really understand, do they need a spouse to handle or to take that step or not? And did we miss something in our sales process? If we kick it over to the logistical spouse, again, this can be both fear and logistical based. Sometimes they don't handle the finances, or they can't act without consulting because they're going to be sleeping in the doghouse or on the couch. Okay. So this is like, logistically, I would be upset if Brooke went out and bought a $50,000 diamond necklace without talking to me. I would be like, hey, that was probably a little irresponsible, don't you think? Okay, maybe our criteria of like what we need to consult with each other on is different than other couples. Like if she felt like she needed coaching, I would not care if she went and signed up for coaching, as most of you listening probably wouldn't either. But other people see things differently, right? So maybe they need anything over $100. Like that's a pretty common rule in a lot of houses, especially in like the Midwest areas. Anything over $100 we consult with each other on. Okay. logistically, that makes sense if you share a bank account and they're outsourcing the decision or some of the finances to someone else who contributed to that fund. Makes sense. More often than not, though, it is financial based, okay? It is logistically financial based. So if someone's telling you, I need to run it by my husband, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or he handles the finances, or he makes most of the money, or he handles the budgeting. Like, more often than not, if they are consulting with a spouse, it's not anything more than being financial based. And that's how they make decisions together with finances. So best thing to do, one, pre-handle it, okay? Upstream. You should be handling this. One, you should be doing a 2-call close. If you're not doing a 2-call close, you're behind on the times. You're doing it not as well as you could. And I would reach out to me if I were you, because I can change your life with one simple tweak in your process, to be honest with you. You could try it on your own, but if you don't have the right triage process, you're toast. You're just booking 2 calls, just book 2 calls. If you don't have our triage process, yeah, go do a 1-call close, because you're probably not going to see a big difference. But when you have the triage script that we have, we pre-handle spouse, we pre-handle fear, we pre-handle money, we pre-handle all of these things on the first call in 15 minutes or less, so that when we get on that second call, it's a 70-80% close rate. So try to get the spouse on the call if you can. But it's best to handle this upstream with the right triage process. So again, guys, this is how to identify which objection is it. So it doesn't matter how good you are at sales, doesn't matter how good your objection handling script is. I could give you our objection handling script, which is pretty damn good. But if you're handling this and it's actually this, if you're handling logistical money and it's fear money, or vice versa, you're still not going to close the deal no matter how good you are or how good the script is. So identify, before anything, identify what you're handling and then proceed from there. So guys, as always, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, reach out to me on any socials. Got them all linked in the bio below. Like, share, send to a friend, and comment. If you disagree, if you do agree, if you have a perspective, I like comments. I try to respond to as many comments as I can. So go ahead and drop them below. I hope you have a wonderful day.